Hey everyone, and welcome to the podcast show you know and love, The Purpose of a Book, with me, your host, Sukjeevan. Thank you so much. Today the spotlight for this podcast is on the short story Montreal 1962. So I recently came across this short story during English class, and I seriously wanted to talk about it during a podcast because I had a lot of different perspectives and a lot of my opinion on this story, and I seriously want to make a podcast to share my opinion and my perspective on this story. So the story of Montreal 1962 is about the culture and traditional differences for a newcomer and foreigner into a new country as well as society. It also has a massive storyline based off of racism and discrimination, which is an issue that I seriously wanted to talk about in previous podcasts, so I decided to do it now with this wonderful book. So, if you're a regular viewer, you already know the drill. In this podcast, we'll be reviewing this short story and answering many of my questions, as well as breaking the story down for you guys and analyzing its meaning. We will also be joined by my good friend Arthur Stewart in a bit for this episode, as he is our book expert and we seriously want his opinion on this book as well. Before we begin, I seriously feel like I need to give my background information on Montreal 1962, so then you guys can follow through with the conversation that I have with Arthur Stewart and better understand it. So, Montreal 1962 is a short story about a Sikh family that immigrated from India and is finding less job opportunities and more racism. The story shows the lies that were fed into the mind of this couple about a perfect Canada and a perfect world. But when they come here, it's not so perfect, as they're met with challenges such as racism, discrimination, and a hard time finding a job without someone telling them to get rid of the husband's turban and cutting his hair short. So, as the wife washes her husband's turban, she discusses about the issues that her husband and her are facing with people calling him, quote-unquote, perfectly qualified and perfect for the job, but in order to be considerable, he needs to cut his hair short and remove the religious clothing that is his turban. Montreal 1962 is aiming towards talking about the issue that is racism, and this is a really big issue and is a real-life problem for many immigrants, and also is trying to look out at the bigger picture of racism in workplaces. So my first question is the social issue shown in this story, but before that, I feel like we should seriously call my good friend Arthur, so let's ring him up. Hey, Arthur, welcome to the show. Yeah, Sukjeevan, it's great to be here. Wonderful staff and lovely people watching this podcast. You sure bet. Now we're talking about Montreal 1962. Pretty sure you've heard of this short story. Yes, a beautiful book with a massive message and purpose. Kind of an ideal book for this podcast. Wouldn't deny that. And now the question is, what is the social issue shown in this book? So for me personally, I believe the social issue shown in this book is racism, as the book seriously hints toward this issue, as it talks about the employers telling the man to, if he wants the job, he must get rid of his turban and cut his hair short, which is a very racist and discriminatory action and requirement for someone to ask of someone to get rid of their religious clothing that is their turban, and as well as cutting their hair short, just so that they can be considerable for a job. I also feel it's talking about racism and discrimination, as in the wife's perspective, she says that no one said that you must be reborn white-skinned and clean-shaven to survive. And I feel like that's showing that this book's about racism, because it's talking about someone getting a job, or a man getting a job, but he's not able to be considerable for this job because he has a turban, which is a religious clothing, and employer is asking him to get rid of that and also cut his hair, which is a very racist and discriminatory command and requirement for someone to have, just so they can be considerable for a job. Yeah, Sukjeevan, I totally agree with your opinion there. I seriously believe this book is about racism, as racism still exists in this world, and I hate to say to a lot of viewers out there, but racism is still a massive issue in our world, and places such as Montreal still have issues such as the turban and hijab, that they're not allowed to be outfit, or not considered an outfit by the police department, and people that wear hijabs and turbans, which are two religious headwears, they're not allowed to wear that while as officers, and that's racism and discrimination towards a specific community of Sikhs, Muslims, and anyone who seriously wears a turban and also a hijab. So I feel like this issue and this book is talking about racism, and racism still exists in our community and society, and this book is trying to like open our eyes and try to give awareness about how this issue existed in 1962 about this with this short story, and it's still existing till this day with many issues and many other events taking place on racism and discrimination towards each other. I could not agree more with you. So let's go on to our next question. So the next question that I had prepared for myself is the message conveyed from this story. So personally, I believe that the message that I conveyed from this story is to never give up. And this is because of the fact that though the couple is on with their last few dollars for the month, and after that they have no money left, they're still fighting this fight against racism in the workplace, and they're trying to solve it, and this is a great way because it shows never give up, because the woman is now working so then she can continue getting money for the family and continue sustaining them while they continue on with this fight, showing that you should never give up and you should always believe and stick to your gut and believe in what you believe in. And if something is wrong, something that you feel is wrong, you should stick up to that and face it and face the challenges, so then you can one day win, and you can also like win and show that you were correct or you were right. And in this case, I seriously believe that this couple, if they won, they seriously showed the employers that they were right. And this issue and this action of asking someone to get rid of their turban is seriously racist. And they're sticking up to racism and discrimination. Yeah, I totally agree with this, Jeevan. And I also have my own opinion on this. So another way that I saw the book myself was to not believe in everything someone says. So, for example, in the book, it says that the couple was told that Canada is an opportunistic world and they have a lot of job opportunities and it's equal for everyone and everyone is given the fair right and fair chances. But when they get there, they see a totally different world, and they're put into this place and this horrible situation of facing discrimination and racism. And I feel like this shows a message that you shouldn't just listen to someone and just believe everything, because they believed that Canada's a perfect world and they moved there with little money, but they still thought they could get a job and they could continue on and maybe grow and get a house and continue living their life. But they're met with racism, discrimination, and all these other issues, and not being able to get a job, and now going through unemployment, and now struggling to get meals on the table. And that shows that you shouldn't just believe in everything. And also, this doesn't just go for the book itself or the story itself. It can also go for the world. Like, you shouldn't believe in everything. Like, for example, we should not believe that racism has ended, and this is because racism still exists in our world and in our society, and a lot of people still meet racism in specific parts of the world. And though maybe it's less likely to be seen in North America or further more developed countries, it doesn't mean that racism is gone and like no one's being racist anymore, and discrimination and racist acts are not occurring in our world on every single day. Wow, you seriously opened my eyes, Arthur, and I seriously agree with your opinion as well. That's another way, and that's another message that I can seriously see myself looking at in this story as well. So, the next question that I want to ask was, what if the story was turned into a movie? I mean, I feel like it'd be amazing, because if this story was turned into a movie, we could be able to cause awareness about issues of racism and discrimination in workplaces, and just racism and discrimination in general in the world. And we already have our main plot and main story of like someone not getting a job because of racist commands and racist requirements to meet. And I feel like it'd be a perfect story, and it could really allow people to showcase that this is still a real life issue, and we seriously need to solve this issue as a community and come together and try to stop this issue and stop racist and discrimination. Yeah, I totally agree with Jeevan, 100%. If this story was turned into a movie, it'd be great, as we could seriously cause awareness for discrimination and racism, as you said. And like with this movie, we could seriously allow people to understand and see the perspective of others on on things that they expect them to do. Like for example, maybe the actual employer didn't find someone getting rid of their turban and cutting their hair short that offensive or that racist because that was their perspective. But in someone else's perspective, and in someone else's shoes who's Sikh, you'd understand that like, that's not right, that's wrong. Like you shouldn't ask someone to get rid of their turban like that. That's not proper, and like that's racist. But maybe the person that actually said him to do that, he probably didn't understand that, and probably didn't understand the cultural. He had a cultural difference there and didn't understand like how's that wrong. So he just said it on his own basis. And if we were able to get a movie out on this, we could seriously be able to showcase like this issue and be like, yeah, this issue is not solved and it's not over. Yes, I totally agree with you. For those of you who don't know, that means that this episode has come to an end, and in this episode we talked about the short story Montreal 1962 and reviewed it with our great book expert Arthur Stewart. Thank you, Arthur. Yeah, it was great for me to it was lovely for me to be here, and I seriously enjoyed talking about my opinion on this book. Tune in next time as we will continue this discussion, as I feel like we can seriously talk about a lot more. And you already know, same place, same time, same podcast show, and host, The Book's Purpose.